Hello. Today, I would like to show you how you can make your very own origami butterfly. And I'd like to do it by also sharing a story that I hope helps you remember the steps to take. So without further ado, let us begin. So to start, you take your paper, and what you want to do when you begin is start with the pattern side, so the side that you want to be on the outside of the butterfly, pattern side down. Okay, now let's begin the story. So, once upon a time, there were two siblings, and these siblings had so many things that they wanted to do in life, but one of the things that they really both agreed on was that they wanted to learn to fly. And they wanted to do so using nothing but one piece of paper. So they found a piece of paper, and it was a square, and they said, let's give this a go. And so they took the paper, and they lifted it up, and then they dropped it down, and they wanted to see if it would fly on its own. It didn't fly quite the way they wanted to, so they decided to experiment with a couple of things. The first thing they did was they took the bottom half of the paper, the flat half, and they folded it up towards the top half, so that the two opposite sides met. And then they creased the center there. And then they took the paper, they lifted it up, and they tried to see if it would fly. Not quite. So they undid the fold, but they noticed that the crease was still there in the middle. They thought to themselves, well, if that one didn't quite work, maybe it needs more folds. So they decided to take the bottom straight edge and fold that up towards the center crease, the crease they had just made. And they brought it there, and then they made another nice fold, and then they again tested their theory, and it did not fly again. But not being discouraged, they decided maybe it needs more folds. So then they turned it around, and they folded the other side, because, sometimes symmetry is something that we're looking for. And they said, that kind of looks a little better. It kind of, no, it doesn't quite do it. So then they thought to themselves, and they said, well, we beforehand had made tons of paper airplanes, and those would fly for a bit. So maybe if we take this design and we add some folds that you would make for a paper airplane, maybe that would help. So they decided to take one of these corners, this one specifically, and to fold it in so that the open side touches the center line. And then they did the same thing on the other side. And look at that. That kind of looks a little bit like a traditional airplane might look if you were to fold it and create a point. So then they pick it up and they drop it down, and it doesn't quite fly. We'll go on this theory of the fact that sometimes more is better. So they turned it around and they said, let's do that on the other side. Maybe it just needs to have the freedom to fly either direction. So they gave it a nice paper airplane fold on the other side. And then they tried it again. It doesn't fly, but it kind of floats nicely. So then from here, they thought about it and they said, well, it kind of looks like a dragon stone, but other than that, I'd like it to fly a little bit more, a little bit longer. So they took their paper and they folded it in half, and they said, well, it doesn't really look like it could fly. Maybe if it flew like that, but that just falls. So, well, let's try this. So there's an open side here, and there's a closed side, and they took the open side and they folded it up towards the top fold, and then they creased right in the middle. Why? I honestly don't know, but it seemed like a good idea to them at the time. And they took that and then they turned it over so they have the nice hill part of the fold pointing up towards the sky. And then one of the siblings took their finger, put it down on the center of their paper. The other sibling took the ears and they folded them up. Then the first sibling took the finger out and pushed in gently on the underside of the space that the finger had made. And now that kind of looks like maybe a ship. But they said, well, how do we get this thing? The wings need to come out if it's going to fly. And they started, just through experimentation, they just started to pinch some things together, and they realized that they had just made a flying butterfly. And this was good enough for them. They could take flight, and then they could keep themselves in the air by flapping their wings as fast as they could. And that is how you make an origami flapping wing butterfly. Enjoy!